What's up, Fellowship Young Adults? Hey, I am Justin Bilson here with my co-leader, Trish White. Say hi, Trish.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, we are here from our homes, obviously, but we want to bring to you a special YATV quarantine edition. Normally, every month when we do Young Adult Night, we have YATV, Young Adult TV, where we share different thoughts, different ideas, different events that God is doing in our ministry for you to be aware of. And unfortunately, because of the restrictions and regulations on gathering during the COVID-19 crisis, we cannot gather physically, but we wanted to use technology and still find ways to connect with you. So over the course of the next couple of weeks until we get to gather together again, Trisha and I wanted to release a series of videos, YATV, the Quarantine Edition, on different topics, from mental health to finances to worship, a myriad of different topics. So we definitely want you to look out for those. We're going to upload them to our YouTube page, Fellowship Young Adults. So please, if you haven't, subscribe to our YouTube page and share it with your family and friends so that we can reach as many people for the glory of God. So, hey, we're excited to have our first conversation today with a amazing practitioner. He is a licensed professional counselor. He's also one of the elders at our church. He's a husband, a father, an amazing man. He's been over family counseling for 8 years. And so today we want to welcome to the YAT virtual couch room. We want to welcome Marty Skrivanos. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Hey guys, thanks a ton for having me. I'm super excited to be here and looking forward to diving in with some of these questions.
Hey, we are so glad you're here. So we're not going to waste any of your time. We're excited. Thank you again for lending your time to talk today. So Trisha, I'll give it away. We got some questions that we'll bounce off, and we just want to hear your heart. So let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, Marty, I would just echo, thank you for being here with us. And we're excited just to be able to hear from you today. So I'll start us off with the first question. As we have jumped into a season where things in our world just radically shifted, can you just give us some key signs of anxiety and depression that we can be aware of?
Sure. I think, both of them have some overlapping tendencies with things like a lack of focus, maybe irritability, things along those lines. Specific to anxiety, I think you tend to see tensions and stresses. I think you tend to see things like your fears escalating and getting amped up in times like this. Typically with depression, you're going to see things along the lines of a lack of focus, a loss of interest, a general feeling of helplessness and hopelessness. And then a lot of times with depression, you can also see just sort of a reckless behavior, akin to, say, call it escapism, looking for something to offset your anxieties, depression, finding time to do those.
That's good. I love the way you put that definition. And one of the next questions that we wanted to ask was, how do we guard against those? But before we do, as you were talking, I thought about this question, especially to our young adult population. Can you talk just briefly about the dangers of self-diagnosis? Specifically, if a young adult, we all do it. You go on WebMD or you go on Google and you start, typing in symptoms and say, oh, based upon this website, I must be bipolar, I must have anxiety, or I must be depressed, right? And so I know obviously from a medical standpoint with diseases and infectious diseases, there's a danger in that. But can you speak from a mental health perspective? Is there also a danger in self-diagnosing or assuming that you have something that you may or may not have?
Yeah, I think there definitely can be, because if you're not careful in self-diagnosis, you're going to label yourself, and then potentially you can give yourself either permission to just go on with that behavior, or you can get stuck in, oh no, this is what this is and nothing will ever change.
Yeah.
And both of those are super harmful. And if you really look at most diagnoses, you're going to see it takes more than one little something. There's a plethora of things that have to be met in order to truly hit that diagnosis.
That's good. That's good. Thanks for bringing that to light, and I appreciate that. Because again, I know I've done it before. I know so many people watching this have either done it or thought about it and said, I wonder if I have this. But it's good to know that we need to come to professionals and least engage in the conversation before we go out and make an assumption that we have something that we are not. So in line with anxiety and depression, especially during this COVID-19 season, what are some practical things that we can do to kind of guard against those? We know that it happens. We know that it comes up, especially like most of our congregation in young adult ministry are either single, they're either with a roommate, by themselves. Some are young married, but how do you battle against or fight against or guard against anxiety and depression, especially in this season where we are not necessarily social distancing as much as we're having to practice physical distancing?
Well, I think first and foremost, we just have to be aware that all of us are going through something that none of us ever knew about before. So because of that, we've got to be able to see that and just say, okay, how is this impacting me? What do I need to learn from it? And in there, then begin to put new rhythms, new routines, because all of us have a certain structure and an ebb and flow to life. And so in there, part of what we can do is we can begin to take some of those opportunities, if you will, to create structure, to create rhythm in and around what we're experiencing. And maybe it looks like permission to take up a new hobby, something like painting or the guitar or who knows what. But in there, giving yourself permission to find a little bit of downtime, but also then in that, being able to recognize, hey, we all need structure, and putting some things in place with that to help us through some of those constants that we're going to experience in and around this new normal.
That's good. That's good.
Marty, how do we know when it is time to seek professional help? If we're feeling either just some of those signs and symptoms you said to look for with anxiety or depression, how do we know when when it's the point where we go, man, we do need to seek professional help for this?
I think for any of us, we all have people in our lives, friends, colleagues, roommates, family. And most of the time, those folks are going to help us walk through life and we can bounce ideas off of and that type of thing. But sometimes like this, it may get a little more intense, a little more fear ramps up. And if that and you're just feeling more and more stuck, I would say that's probably a good time to begin to reach out and look for, is there someone else out there that I can visit with, that I can share some of this with, to just process through and see if they can help get a little less stuck in it.
Great.
That's good. I love that. And I think that is so important, especially during this time. One question that we've been asked before, and I know we've had you and some other counselors, my wife and one of our other young adults on a panel before, and we asked this question, but I kind of want to revisit it again. We know that there are people presently, millions across our country, who are having to file for unemployment because of loss of jobs. We know some that still have jobs and are still working. Many of our young adult community are, medical professionals still having to go to work. And so can you speak to what options are there out there for on one hand, the A person doesn't have a job, isn't employed, but still wants to seek counseling, and is having to wrestle through that right now, or the person who is employed and maybe seeking some type of assistance through their job. What options do young adults have, or people in general have, in kind of those varying situations?
I think there's a lot of opportunity in that, because I think a lot of employers are offering up some sort of assistance to try to help come alongside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most therapy clinics, mine included, would be places where if people are struggling with that, a majority of the people in our industry are in it to help. And if that's something that's going to be a stumbling block, I mean, we've got sliding scales, we've got opportunities in all kinds of different arenas. So I don't want anyone to ever feel like the finances are going to keep you from. I want them to feel the freedom to just reach out and be honest on the front end with where you are and what's going on, so that you can get the help you need.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love that, Marty. Just hearing you say, don't let finances stop you from that. And I would just echo that. If you guys are just in, you know it's time, and you know you need to talk to someone, Justin, I would love to walk you through that. We have some opportunities at Fellowship where we can help financially do that. And so don't hesitate. I would say don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to be able to do that as well, because we don't want finances to be an issue. Marty, if we have roommates or family, friends that we know do struggle with anxiety and depression, what are some just practical ways we can reach out to them or check in on them during the season?
I think that one is just let them know that you care. Be intentional around being available, I would say, is probably the key in that. We're all going through a new normal. We're all concerned about the what ifs. But in there, we're not alone in it. And so if you've got a family member or a friend, they're walking through a lot of the same things too. So just be intentional about being available. Let them know that you're there, that you're willing to engage in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. And then it kind of takes the pressure off you of feeling like you've got to do something. You're able to be available to come alongside as needed, but you take the pressure off yourself of having to make it do something.
That's good. That's really helpful. And I know there are a lot of our young adults kind of in that space who can really use that advice. So thanks for that. You keep mentioning that, and we keep hearing this term a lot now, and it's real that we are living in a new norm. I was talking to my wife the other day about, when September 11th happened. Obviously I was, in middle school, and I remember being in upstate New York, and I remember a time where we all do, where you could fly without having to go through metal detectors and take your shoes off, right? And so, that was the norm, and then we created a new norm. And so now presently, until we come out of this, we're having to deal with a new norm, social distancing and not being able to gather, having to connect through technology primarily, limiting even going to the grocery store, the amount of things you can get at the grocery store, right? This is a new norm for us. And so within that, one of the last questions we wanted to ask is, being that we don't know when we're going to come out of this, we don't know what this looks like on the other side, how do we take what we do have, maximizing that, and how do we create new rhythms? What are some new rhythms that we can create during this time to say, hey, even in the midst of these hard moments, I'm still going to use this in a way to honor God? So what are some new rhythms we can create during this time?
Well, I think along those same lines of like 9/11 and anything else like that, it forces us to realize we can only control what's in front of us and really what we can do in that moment. And in there, I think instead of being afraid of the unknowns and the uncertainties, what can we do to try to accept more of the where we are and begin to work in and around that by putting some new things in place that are some structure, some routine, different things like that, just so that we can begin to slowly create. I mean, think about it if in terms of either working out or doing something like that. None of us, if we're going to run a marathon, are going to take off today and just go do it. We have to work our way towards it, and putting some new practices in place and realizing, okay, hey, maybe some more things are going to go virtual and online like what we're doing. Maybe there will be more slowed down rhythms of grocery store, the instant gratification. But no matter what it is, I think in all of those, being aware of there are changes occurring, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, allows us then to kind of step into it, accept it for what it is, control what we can, but live out of that of just, all right, here's what I know to be true in it. Here's how I can lean into it. Because what we do know in all this is that none of this surprises God. And because of that, then He's in control. He knows what's occurring. All He's asking of us is, are you willing to take the next step? And in doing so, that next step doesn't have to be a massive jump. It's just simply the next step in, okay, what's in this for me? What do I need to learn from it to take one more step and move forward?
That's good. That is so good. I love that you said that none of this surprises God. And I think that we get so deep into things and we look at our circumstances and are so consumed by it. But when we zoom back out and remember God's promises to us that, you know, he never leaves us, he never forsakes us. Like you said, nothing surprises him. And that as I was encouraging some family members the other day, you know, he didn't promise a perfect life. He didn't promise a freedom from hardship, but he did promise us help and he promised us peace. So I appreciate that. And I think we're all having to adjust to those new rhythms. And I know Trish and I with little ones, that was my little one that just came in. So that's why I was kind of distracted. So having to adjust to that new norm, there you go. But it's all good. So Trish, any last questions? I want to make sure that we cover everything and just, you know.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I would just say, man, Marty, just hearing you say, not letting fear get in the way, because I know fear can creep in easily in unknowns. And I know for me, just hearing you say, just God knows about this. This is not a surprise to him. We are called to take the next step. And I know for me, I can look 5 weeks, 2 months down the road and wonder, because we're in such an unknown season, I often will lay awake at night and just wonder, okay, what is this going to look like in 3 months from now? And so hearing, okay, take the next step, that to me is doable. I can do that. And so I love that. I think that is something just to hold on to, of going, God knows, and all he's requiring of me is to take the step I need for today. That's very practical. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And again, this has been a great conversation. YATV Quarantine Edition. Look out for more of these videos. Marty, how do they reach you? If there are anyone, whether young adult or other, watching this video and they want to connect with you to have more of these conversations and probably seek therapy or seek help, how do they connect with you?
Well, they can connect. They can get a hold of us. Phone number is 501-291-3732. Or they can go to our website. It's compasscounselingar.com. They can check us out there, fill out some information. But we would love to help out however we can. If that means, you know, a formal sit-down meeting, if that means just getting together over the phone for a couple minutes to walk through, hey, what are you really experiencing? And trying to begin to take that next step of the journey of just saying, okay, what's going on with me and how is God using this to grow me and encourage me in my own walk? Because what Trish was saying so right, God's been down this path. He knows what's going to occur. Our job is to trust that, take one step at a time, and allow him to keep unpacking and unfolding the rest of it. So
That's great. Well, thank you again for that. And we'll put the link, any information in our info page there on the YouTube channel so that people can get that information. So Trish, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Marty, just to clarify, you guys are doing counseling you still are offering counseling sessions during this season?
yes, we are still where we can meet live and in person. We have all the setup here that we can do. We also have a HIPAA compliant virtual platform that we can do online therapy sessions in and around. So it's really whatever the person's needing in that moment, we want to try to come alongside that and help in whatever way that looks like.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And we're praying for you and your family. And we love Amy. Obviously, she's on staff and was one of the young adult pastors for a while. And so we love her as well. And just grateful for what you're doing. And you're much needed, especially in this season. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It's been great to engage with you guys on this topic.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.